So let's look at a complex solution here. So our equation is the same. We have 4x squared plus 4x plus 36 equals 0. And so A is 4, B is also 4, and C is 36. So we have x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared. Did lots of 4s on this problem. So 4 squared, b squared, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So 2 times, breaking my own rule, 2 times 4, so 2a, 2 times 4 is really 8. And so, same thing here. Plug in everything that's underneath the square root. Don't plug in the square root, just the stuff that's inside. So 16 minus 4 times 36. So 16 minus 4 times 36. Okay, and so what you'll notice here is this one was positive, real solution. This one is negative, complex solution. So if you remember from Algebra 2, you talked about complex numbers and imaginary numbers. And so here we're going to split the fraction into 2 pieces. So 8 is dividing everything. And so we're going to say negative 4 over 8. That's the real portion of my equation, plus or minus the square root of negative 560 all over 8. And so here, this negative is going to go away, and we're going to call it the square root of 560i. So that imaginary number comes out. We can't take the square root of a negative number, and that's why it's going to be imaginary. And so here we have x equals negative 4 over 8. That simplifies to negative 0.5. So we're going to do decimal forms on everything here. And so x equals negative 0.5. This number plus this number minus this number. So that's where our 2 answers are going to come. We have a real part plus the imaginary part, the real part minus the imaginary part. And so what we need to do is plug this part into my calculator. And we don't want to round anything early. We're just going to round it all at the end after we type it all in together. So 560 over 8. So the square root, positive 560, because if we plug this in as negative, it's going to tell us it's undefined. We don't want that. That's not helpful. Okay, so we're saying this is positive because the imaginary part came out. And then outside of the square root, I'm going to divide by 8. Okay, the 8 is not inside the square root. The 8 is outside the square root. And so what we have here is 2.958. And so that 8, if we're rounding to the hundredths place, the 5, we're going to look to the 8. The 8 is bigger than 5, so it's going to make us round up to 2.96. And so this answer now is 2.96i. That's our imaginary part, 2.96i. So negative 0.5 plus this number, negative 0.5 minus this number. And these are my 2 solutions. And so visually what's happening here for my complex solutions, I have this function that's not crossing my x-axis. Not crossing the x-axis. Before, when we were talking about real solutions, we do cross the x-axis. Here for complex solutions, we are not crossing the x-axis. And so visually, that's what's happening here. So here we're going to split this always into the real part and the imaginary part to create our complex solutions. Here, we're going to leave everything as one fraction, simplify the top, and then divide. So hopefully that helps you distinguish between real and complex solutions.